Hey y'all, I'm David.
Hey y'all, I'm Amy. 8 years ago, we went to the Annapolis Boat Show and bought our boat, Starry Horizons, that we've lived on board since then. We hadn't been able to come back to the boat show, but that all changed this year.
We finally got the chance to go back to the Annapolis Boat Show, and it was fascinating. Figured we would go and do just a quick debrief for those who are interested in the boats, some ideas for attending the show, and general boat talk. So, sit back,
Relax.
and let's talk boats.
And boat shows.
And boat shows. This video is going to be a little bit unique in that we're not scripting. We don't really know where this conversation is going to go. It is just going to be a conversation with Amy and I talking about our experiences at the boat show, what we thought, and just kind of asking each other questions. Hopefully, there'll be something you guys can find interesting throughout all this. So, first question, my dear.
Why should anyone attend the Annapolis Boat Show or any other boat show for that matter?
Getting down to the basics, the very beginning, I think. It's the boat shows, it's a really fascinating combination for me of a couple different things. Number one, you can actually see boats. It can be really hard to actually go around and get on boats that you might be interested in buying. The boat show, they kind of solve that problem for you. They bring all of them in one place, right? So I remember when we were looking for purchasing Starry Horizons, we were interested in, like the Fountaine Pajots, the Leopards, maybe an Antares, some of those other ones.
Yep.
So we got a chance to actually get on the different boats, kind of peek around, and like, oh yeah, actually the Fountaine Pajot Helia feels like home. So that was really nice to actually get the feel of being on the boats. So that's attraction number one, I think. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm on the right track so far. Number two is the number of vendors that are at the boat shows.
Yeah.
I think it's really impressive to me that you can actually go around and talk to all these different vendors and be like, hey, I'm interested in kind of this design for my solar capacity. Like, let's talk through what kind of products do you have? Like, how should I set this up? Like, super useful and helpful.
I will say that 8 years ago when we went to the boat show, before we owned a boat, I was much less interested in all the vendors than I was this year.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I was super fascinated to talk to a ton of people, a ton of vendors.
Yeah.
I wanted to know everything.
Yeah. Now that we have a little more experience, it was a bit more valuable talking to the vendors about things that we've done, experienced, maybe things change, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But and I'm gonna go ahead and throw a third thing out there.
Okay, I'm listening.
I believe that there are other boat shows that do this, but I think Annapolis does it especially well. And that's like the Cruisers University type classes that you can attend, which we're now experienced enough. There wasn't any classes this year that was kind of on our radar, but we attended classes on...
So no, wait, we didn't attend Cruisers University. We attended the free webinars during the show.
Okay.
There's a difference.
It's true. And now that we're filming this in 2021, webinars is probably an appropriate term, but when we attended back in 2013... Seminars. They are
the
actually
word
in
that
person.
I meant.
Yeah.
Not webinars.
So we got a chance to go, do like a how to read weather and forecast weather, and I think
Jimmy Cornell did the weather one that we attended.
Oh, I mean, pretty awesome to be a
Big
part
names.
of that. Yeah. So there are a lot of those little classes and seminars that you can be a part of as well, which I think is a really cool part of the boat show.
Yeah.
So have we covered most of the reasons people should go to boat shows, or did I miss something?
I think that's pretty good. The one last thing a couple things I would say is that this was the second time we've been to the Annapolis Boat Show. We've also been to Miami twice.
Yeah.
Both times after we'd bought Starry Horizons. So that was a little bit different. I do think that Annapolis is a pretty dang good show.
It's one of the biggest, I feel.
And I like that there's the powerboat show separate and then the sailboat show the next weekend. So that kind of keeps focus a little bit better, in my opinion. The other thing I wanted to add was that it's great to go to the boat show to meet people. And we met people 8 years ago when we went to the Annapolis Boat Show who we're still in touch with today. And at this show, we got to catch up with a lot of people, not just vendors, but other cruisers and people who are around the community. So that was pretty great.
Yeah, that was a nice part of it too, I will admit.
Yeah.
All right, next question time?
Next question.
I'm asking this one.
You're asking.
All right. So this time there was a dedicated YouTube booth. So what was it about the YouTube booth that was both interesting and would you do it again?
I was the one that coordinated the YouTube booth between the two of us.
She's social coordinator by far.
That's my job. It was organized by an awesome guy named Jeff, so props to Jeff who put all this together.
Shout out to Jeff.
We had a extra large booth with tables and merchandise to sell, and every hour we rotated YouTube channels. And we had a 1 hour slot every day, and it varied according to the day. And we sat at the booth, and people, like, we posted on our Facebook and Instagram that we were going to be here at certain times. So people came up to meet us. Some people had never met us, and they were like, well, I watch other YouTube channels, or I want to watch other YouTube channels, so tell me about your adventure. That was really cool.
That was kind of cool.
And then we had people we already knew stop in and say hello to us, or people who we've known for years because they've been commenting on our stuff. They would stop in and say, like, hey, I'm so-and-so, you might recognize my name because I've been dropping comments for years. And we're like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to finally meet you.
I will just jump in real quick. Like, being on YouTube is a bit of an odd experience sometimes because, you know, behind the lens, we don't really get a chance to meet you guys that are watching this.
Yeah.
And so being at the boat show and having that opportunity was just phenomenal that, you know, we've had so many people that we've interacted with so much over the years.
Definitely.
And it's nice to kind of like flip that script just a little bit.
Yeah. That 1 hour slot at the booth got pretty busy sometimes. It was a little, I will say, I don't think we got to hang out with other YouTubers as much as we maybe would have liked. And part of that was because although there were meals planned for us each evening and each morning, we were pretty exhausted by the end of the day. So
yeah, that's not a lie. Like
we weren't able to socialize with other YouTubers as much as we would have liked. But
to be fair, that's also partially on us because
It is.
We made the decision to either do like our own little meetups on the side with people that we knew, or just so exhausted we came back and we're like, we're going to sleep. So there was opportunities if we were willing to stay up till 1 or 2 a.m. But that's not quite my thing right now.
We got an invite from a YouTube channel who shall remain nameless. They texted us at like 11:15 at night, like, hey, come over for drinks. And I'm like,
we were in bed for like an hour.
We had been in bed and asleep for an hour, so no.
Yeah. So I guess you can kind of tell where we fall on that spectrum, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm at least more social than David, but that was still like a lot.
It was. So. But on the whole, I think just the opportunity to be able to meet the people that have been following us and actually get that relationship in person was super awesome, super inspiring just to hear everyone how much they appreciated all the work we've done put into this because, yeah, it's a lot of work at times. But so from that aspect, thank you for anyone who's watching this that came and met us at the boat show.
Yes.
It really made us feel pretty awesome and special. So thank you. Next question?
Next question.
Am I asking this one?
I believe you are.
All right. So we got a chance to tour quite a lot of boats. Let's talk about which ones did we actually go see, what were your favorites, and kind of what was maybe some of the interesting features we'd found.
I will start off by saying that as cruisers, it was very interesting to look at what is coming out in the new models for a variety of boats. And even just looking at like little things that they've done, we're like, oh, that's interesting. We could maybe do that on Starry Horizons, actually. Makes sense. So that was nice. Let's see. We toured FP.
I'll say we have to start out with Fountaine Pajot. We did go visit all the Fountaine Pajots at the boat show.
We visited Leopard.
Did get on the Leopards.
Balance. HH. Antares. Seawind.
I think that's all the cats that we got on.
Yes. We did not go visit Lagoon, Bali, Nautatech, or
there was a Voyage at the show.
Voyage.
And a Kinetic cat.
And a Kinetic.
Now that we're listening to this out, there were a lot of boats at the boat show.
That isn't even including any monohulls because it was like a blind spot for us. We were just walking around the show like, Okay. Well, there's monohulls, but we're really interested in these catamarans.
Okay. So
we didn't set foot on a single monohull.
That's a list of cats.
Yeah.
What was the favorite one that you got on?
Well, we toured the HH50 with our friends Frank and Mary Grace, who own an HH55. You may remember them because they owned a Helia prior to the HH55. And that was really fun to tour the HH with owners. And it is a beautiful boat.
Absolutely freaking gorgeous. Unfortunately, when it's all carbon fiber and stuff like that, it's a little pricey over Starry Horizons, I would say. But it's always fun to dream, right? Like, that's fun.
A little bit out of our price range.
Just a little bit, yeah.
And that's okay.
we do love Starry Horizons. Now, I think one of the surprises for me was the Seawind, the 1600 that we got a chance to go on.
Surprised in a good way or a bad way?
Good way.
Okay.
So the one thing that I think we've both talked about a lot that we really enjoy about Starry Horizons and kind of this style boat is the sport top helm, where it's relatively connected to the boat, which is still up and separated, controlling all the lines. The Seawind 1600 has much more of the kind of, it's not quite all the way aft steering positions, but it's like a hybrid thing. They're half under the coach roof, half outside. So it's kind of interesting. It's not nearly as protected as what we have, but it's also not as far back as the Katanas or something like that, or the Nanotechs. So, but I think we both really appreciated the fit and finish inside. Like, I thought that was really nice. The design of the salon was great. The helm, the navigation station.
Very nice nav table.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. But yeah, it's got a good galley layout. I liked the way the cabins were laid out. There are a few things here and there that I was kind of like, eh. The exposed helms is something that we saw on a lot of the boats at the show.
Yep.
So.
And I'm going to kind of transition into that one, into another interesting style helm, and that's the balance cats.
Yes.
So when we were coming around South Africa, and we actually got a chance to go to two of the different balance factories, the Nexus factory in St. Francis, that's where they build the 526, and then we came around to Cape Town. We did go to the balance factory in Cape Town, which is now building the 482.
Yep.
And they were just building the mold for that 482 when we were there, and it was now at the show, so it was kind of neat to be able to see the finished boats in both places. And the big thing everyone always talks about for these balance cats is the Versa helm. And I think, like, having been on it after having looked at all the pictures and videos that I could find, it was a really intriguing concept, but it leaves you much more exposed than I really realized you would be. Especially the Balance 482, they've got all the winches up on top of the coach roof.
Yep.
So whenever you need to be...
Winches in all the lines.
All the lines, yep. So whenever you need to be doing anything with the sails, you have to be up and exposed doing that. They do have kind of like a little folding down canvas cover, so if you want to be up there and get a little bit of shade, you can do that. But it's going to be very exposed, and whenever it's raining and whatnot, you're going to be donning your foulies and getting up there. Now, I know this is maybe a bit of a controversial take, but we really, really like our helm setup, where we've got the full enclosure. When it's raining, we can handle all the lines inside protected. Like, when was the last time we put on our foulies?
Years.
Yeah.
It's been years since we put on our foulies, and I have to say, like, as someone who gets mildly seasick, I spend all my time at sea up at the helm because I have shade, I'm protected, I can get ventilation, I can see the horizon. I'm just really comfortable up there. I like our helm a lot.
Yeah, so I think, I understand a lot of the attraction of the Versa helm on the Balance, but I'm not sure that would be the right solution for us, which is a shame because the rest of the boats, gorgeous. Like the interior finishing, what they've got in there, some of the design for the interior salon, a lot of the work that they're doing, kind of the energy setup. I really like some of that, using a lot of lithium batteries, a lot of solar, integral DC generators on your engines. I mean, there's a lot I really like about it, but I think the helm just isn't quite going to work for us.
I think it's really interesting to go to the show as someone who hasn't cruised yet versus someone who's been cruising for a long time and see the different way that you look at boats than you did previously. So we have quite a bit of sailing experience now offshore, and there are certain things that we really care about. And in boats like FPs or Lagoons or Leopards that are primarily going into charter, it's not that huge of a deal to have some specific features, whereas they might be things that we really care about.
That's a lot of talk on the higher end boats that were at the boat show.
The dream boats.
Definitely the dream boats.
Yeah.
What about, let's talk about Leopard next.
Okay. We went on the Leopard 45 and the Leopard 50.
Yep.
And we've talked before about how we love the Leopard 46, which is the design that they stopped making just prior to us buying the boat. And since then, the 45 and the 50 that we saw at Annapolis have the forward cockpit.
It's kind of their continuation of that design.
Yes.
This is like the second generation that's got it.
Yes. So, forward cockpit. Pros and cons. 1, the coach roof over it extends really far out, and from the helm of the 45 and 50, you can't see a whole lot.
Yeah, I love you, my dear, but you're
a little short.
A little short. So, and Amy is the one who drives the boats, so it's really important that she would be able to actually see the corners. At least one would
corner.
Be helpful.
Yeah.
So that would be a bit of a challenge.
Yep.
Now, I will say from a kind of like evening comfort perspective, I do understand the forward cockpit because like most of the time in the trade winds, the sun's kind of setting right down behind your stern. The sun's blasting into the stern cockpit.
Basically,
it'd be nice to sit
our
up front.
butt faces sunset almost every night.
Yeah.
And it is like streaming right on in. So I can understand having like nice seating up front. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But you're also sacrificing space in the main salon and on the trampoline. Trampoline is an issue when you're taking on green water.
The cockpit does have extremely huge scuppers down there to be able to shed that water, and I've talked to a lot of people who own them. No one's ever told me any problems that they've had with it. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know how big of an issue that is in terms of water actually collecting up there and becoming a problem.
Yeah.
But you definitely lose the trampoline space, and we like having a relatively large trampoline to work out on and do stuff like that. So everything's a compromise, that's for sure.
I've always liked the cockpit layout in Leopards.
The aft cockpit layout?
The aft cockpit layout, yeah. They have the seat around the table at the stern always has like the swinging back,
That's true.
You know, so you can sit facing forward or move the back over and sit facing backwards, which is very nice.
That is a cool little idea, yeah.
They always have good dinghy davits, probably better than our boat.
It's definitely a different style where the whole assembly kind of moves down and then comes up. So, I mean, you can definitely get the dinghy up super high, which is nice. So,
the lounge deck is like a full-on couch and table lounge.
Yeah,
it's pretty hardcore.
That was surprising on the Leopards to me, was that they actually have a table up at the lounge deck now. So, I mean, lounge real hard up there. So
it's just what you want to do, y'all. Lounge real hard.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, the interiors seem, I mean, they all kind of are roughly the same general concept, right? You've got your general salon, the galleys are both up, the owner's side of the hull. Anything else on the Leopards?
I don't think so. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the pretty solid choice boats.
In our humble opinion.
In our humble opinion. I will also say, one of the things in the Leopard's favor is that the wiring is going to be in English, which I've been able to figure everything out. Like, it's been okay, but there are some times it would be nice not to have to reach for Google Translate and try to interpret what Google Translate is telling me for wiring in English. So, all right, that's Leopard.
Yep.
How about the Fountaine Pajots?
Well, I would say I was disappointed that we didn't have a 47 Tana or the 50.
Well, looks like we just got waked pretty good. Let's get this back up.
So FP didn't have the 47-ton or the 50.
Oh, I can't remember the name of the new 51, but there's a new 51 that's, I think, just come out. So maybe that's understandable not to be at the boat show. But
so they had a 40, 42, 45, and
the 59.
59.
I mean, it's the big honker.
We went on the 45, and
it's probably the one most comparable to Starry Horizons in the range. Yeah.
Yep. The Elba. One thing we do find value in is the interior nav table, and FP has basically done away with that.
Now, I think that has a lot to do with the type of cruising that we've done, because we have done the long ocean passages, and even if you've checked out our video kind of like summarizing our circumnavigation, we didn't spend even close to the majority of our time at sea, but when you are at sea, having somewhere inside where you can sit and do your navigating or something like that was very valuable to us. So it's disappointing to me, and that was actually one of the requirement checkboxes when we were shopping for Starry Horizons, to see that FP's done away with that for that size range is a bit disappointing. But how about the rest of the boat? Any other significant changes that you've noticed for between the 45 and the Helia?
Not really. I think there's a lot of similarities. And actually, it was interesting to me to see that, like on the Helia Evolution, there were some improvements made, but I feel like the Elba has taken steps back in certain ways.
How so?
For example, our cushions here on our couch are like a very square, firm foam, and on the Helia Evolution, they're like these big, poofy, comfy things. And the ergonomics here aren't really working for me anymore, so that's an issue. Was there anything on the FPs that you thought was particularly interesting?
There were a few tweaks kind of on the owner's cabin, how they've designed the heads and stuff like that as well. To me, that's all a bit, preferences here or there. The new davits were a bit higher, I think, on the Elba than what we have. So FP does seem like they have learned those lessons from the Evolution. Helia is now translating to kind of newer generation design language. So that's been good. Yeah. But yeah, it was kind of fascinating to be able to compare Starry Horizons with the new version of the Fountaine Pajot range.
It was.
On the whole, we came away liking Starry Horizons.
Yeah. It would be really tough to make a choice on boats now. Like if we were shopping for a boat right now, a comparable boat to Starry Horizons, honestly, I don't know what I would choose.
Yeah, I don't think, for me personally, there's quite the model from a production designer that really ticks the exact same boxes that we were looking for. Something from, we didn't go tour the lagoons, so we can't speak really deeply on those. My understanding is some of the newer ones are doing away with the sport top and going back down or back to, I think. Oh,
guys, we like the sport top.
Don't. Oh, if I get this wrong, people are going to get real mad at me. But I think there's a new 46 Lagoon, and I believe they've only announced the Flybridge model. They haven't announced a sport top model yet, which that would be a bit of a trick. So, can't speak a whole lot on that one. Please don't be too mad at me if I'm wrong about that. But
foot in mouth.
Yeah. So it would be a very tough decision now trying to figure out what would be an equally comparable boat to Starry Horizons, or even really what we would consider a big upgrade from Starry Horizons. I think that would be a bit of a interesting conversation, maybe for a later time. But now there's one last model of boat that we did get a chance to go tour, and that was the Antares. And I'm going to just real briefly touch on that. The Antares I've always loved. They're just really well thought out liveaboard cruising boats. They haven't really changed the interior layout in design in a while, so it looks, to me, it just is a bit dated in terms of all the space that we have on Starry Horizons. The Antares, the equivalent 44 feet, doesn't feel quite as spacious. I am really intrigued. They are doing some very cool stuff at an actual hybrid version, kind of using some of the same technology that HH is using. Yeah. So, one more thing to add to your list, if you're looking at boats, Antares could be kind of an interesting option for you.
They are more of a cruiser's cruising boat.
Yeah, definitely not for a charter.
Yeah. They have a galley down option, which is pretty unusual for the boats that we looked at the show. And the boat has like much more finished wood and looks more nautical, like more old school boat in the finishing itself, never mind the layout of the boat.
Yeah.
But shout out to our friends Mark and Sarah on Field Trip who've been cruising in their Antares for 12 years. And there was another couple that had their Antares cruising for like 10 years too. So
when you find those boats, they are one of the few that I have ever seen that hold their value or even appreciate. So there's definitely a lot of love for those out there.
Yeah. Another thing to say about the boats, the new boats that were being displayed at the boat show, is that lead times right now are insane. We asked, like, okay, how soon could we get a boat if we ordered one today? Now, when we ordered Starry Horizons 8 years ago, they were like, oh, we'll have it in 6 months. And we're like, well, hurricane season, so can you push it out to a year? No problem. The Seawind has like a 4 or 5 year lead time right now. The Seawind 1600.
Fountaine Pajots weren't much better. Leopards right around the same time frame.
They were 2 to 3 years.
It's pretty incredible to me, just the lead time that's being required. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and like Lagoons, Leopards, and FPs are pushing out a lot of them a month. So they're really selling like hotcakes right now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Pretty insane.
Yeah.
What about just like general tips for someone who wants to come to a boat show? What do you think? I mean, there's multiple days that you can visit, especially Annapolis.
Yes.
What would be kind of your suggestion for days?
Okay. There were 5 days of the boat show. And we were so busy that the first 4 days were kind of crazy. And the first day is a preview day, like a VIP day. It was very busy. Now, we did our boat tours on Monday, the last day of the show. It was way emptier. Like, guys, on Friday, the line to tour Seawinds was insanely long. And we're like
halfway down the dock.
Nope, not interested in standing in line and then getting on a very crowded boat. So I highly recommend staying that extra day for the last day of the boat show. Now, I did learn that normally the powerboat show and the sailboat show alternate who's on that holiday weekend in October. It was the powerboat show this year, so next year it should be the sailboat show. So then Monday will be a little bit more crowded.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. Kind of the beginning and end days. Thursday was crowded, yes. Yeah. But it was definitely less crowded than Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah. So if you're looking for kind of the less crowds, easier time to get on the boats, talk to the vendors you're looking for, beginning and last days, probably for any show you go to, is going to be roughly your best bet. Yes.
Now, the next thing to think about in terms of days is that there is always bad weather.
It seems as that's a theme, at least at the fall Annapolis Boat Show.
Yes, because fall in the Chesapeake seems to be a little bit...
hit or miss.
Hit or miss. So the first 2 days were very sunny and warm, and then Saturday, a storm rolled through in the afternoon.
Yeah, that was the storm.
So it rained in the afternoon, and then the temperature dropped way down Sunday and Monday. So, like, keep that in mind. Like, there's going to be a rainy day where you're not going to want it to, like, really be around the show. And that's okay. So it's, like, build in a day off. Yep. Bring cards. Even if you don't have a business card or don't have a boat card yet, like, bring a card with your name and contact information on it because you'll be talking to people and you want to hand out stuff so people will remember you. Take photos with people. Was occasionally good at that, but not great at it.
For being a YouTube channel, we are surprisingly bad about remembering to take photos sometimes.
Yeah, like, definitely some people came up to us at the booth, which was really fun, and they wanted to selfie with us, which was cool. But we should have done that with more people, even just, like, walking around and meeting people. If you're touring the boats, I found it really helpful to take a picture of, like, the plaque or the sign before you get on the boat so that you'll remember which photo goes with which boat. So.
As you get on a lot, it can be a bit tricky to keep it all straight in your head, and there will be a lot of information being thrown at you from, like, the salespeople and stuff like that. So how about this? Slip-on shoes.
Slip-on shoes are good. Slip-on shoes with socks. So you're not going barefoot on people's boats, but you also don't have to, like, get off the boat onto the dock and then retie your shoes 50 times a day.
Constantly.
Like I did, because I don't have slip-on shoes that I wore to the show. So
next year, babe.
Next year.
Yeah. All right, any last tips that you'd give for people attending a boat show?
Have fun.
Yeah, I mean, it is just a really cool experience to be around all those boats. Do a little bit of research first so maybe you can identify your top targets, and that way
If you're boat shopping.
I mean, even if you're dreaming, it never hurts. But that way you can kind of target those first and spend time talking to the boats and the vendors that you're most interested in. Because other than that, you can spend all the time just talking to everybody. So.
Absolutely.
All right, I think that is a pretty good debriefing for the 2021 Annapolis Boat Show.
Yeah.
Feeling pretty good about that?
Yeah. We're looking forward to 2022, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be all kinds of fun. So hope you guys have enjoyed this little video. We will be hopefully back at the 2022 Annapolis Boat Show. See where the cruising plans take us. Yeah. We're going to be doing lots more of these videos talking about the things that we've learned, tips, tricks from the last 7 years we spent cruising. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so. If you need to watch more videos before the next one comes out, there should be a link around here somewhere where you can watch more of our videos, which I always appreciate. So thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. We'll see you
another day
in another bay. Bye, y'all.
Bye.